I think one of my most memorable stories from my time in ministry has been of Alexei Brudnov, who was from the Soviet Union, from Russia, actually from Moscow. And he was head of the Komsomol, really the elite of communism during that time. And so there was a layman in Moscow, Christian layman, who put the Jesus film on television in 1990. And the only good thing that we came out of it, as far as we know, was that Alexei Brudnov saw the ending of it, was captured by it. And he told us later that he cried twice. Once when he saw the crucifixion of Jesus, and once when he prayed to receive Christ. And it was just as though that God reached down and touched Alexei Brudnov and chose him for a job just like he had done for the Apostle Paul many years ago. It was interesting how all this took place, because it wasn't long after Alexei received Christ that Paul Eshelman and his group of people were there in Moscow. We had a plan to put these convocations all across Russia, where we have a group of experts that come in from the US and from Canada, and they minister to the teachers, public school teachers in Russia. But we didn't know exactly how it was going to happen. And as it turned out, as Paul Eshelman and his group of people were there in Moscow, who was elected to work with them? It was Alexei Brudnov, who at that time he was responsible for all of the extracurricular curriculum for Russia, who became the door opener for all of these cities, these 140 cities in Russia. And I knew this very well because I attended two of the convocations in Kiev, the Ukraine, and in Minsk, Belarus. And so if you could have these convocations in Russia, you could have them almost anywhere. And strategy was really correct, because there was a great disparity between the time that we first started the convocations and the ending. People from a certain religious group came directly to the Prime Minister, Chairman Meriden at that time, and said, you cannot hold Protestant religious services or convocations sponsored by the Ministry of Education. So the Minister of Education came to Alexei and told him we could no longer do this. So Alexei had this idea of presenting 3 tapes to each of the 60,000 schools in Russia. And they had taken the Jesus film, the information from the speaking part of the Jesus film out, and dramatized it, made it into an audio script called The Story of Jesus. And we thought that Alexei was going to be able to send these 3 tapes to each of the 60,000 schools in Russia. As it turned out, he dropped dead of a heart attack on July 16, 1999, at the age of 52 in Moscow. And we were saying, God, do you know what you're doing? This man is one of the most important Christians in all of Russia. So we did not know how this was going to end up. So at his memorial service, a man who is Vice Minister of Education, as a memorial to Alexei, gave the final approval and distribution of these 3 tapes to the 60,000 schools in Russia. And so you can see how God has reached down and just touched Alexei, who is a Communist Party official, head of the Komsomol in Moscow, and gave him a job to do for a period of time. And so this whole process was not done in the way that we would expect, but in God's way. And so we give him all the honor and glory and praise for what he has done.